Welcome to Beyond Words Presents. I'm your host, Whitney Diffenderfer, and this week we are here with Bridgett Walther and Hazel Dixon-Cooper, authors of the soon-to-be coming out, but not quite out yet, book called Harness Astrology's Bad Boy. I have a copy right here, and it's the handbook for conquering Pluto's tumultuous transit. I love saying the tumultuous transit. Welcome to the show, guys.
Yes, welcome. We're welcomed. Very welcome.
And
Thank
so
you, Whitney.
you're so welcome. And for those of you watching, we do have Bridgett by video, but we only have Hazel by audio today. So she is here with us. You just won't be able to see anything more than her beautiful little picture. So hello, Hazel.
Hello, Whitney. Thank you for that introduction. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm so glad to have both of you here. And so everybody who's watching knows you can participate in this conversation as well. So there you can participate through the Google Hangouts Q&A app. Be sure to submit your questions, and then also subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and you can also follow us on Twitter and engage using the hashtag BWPresents. So my very first question for you guys, and why Pluto? I remember starting to hear about this book, and I'm just like, what does Pluto have to do with anything? And really, isn't Pluto not a planet anymore?
Hazel, do you want this one, or do you want me to have this one?
Pluto's kind of the bad guy of the universe. He's got a bad rap. He's the what goes around comes around planet. So if you have issues in your life that you can never resolve, you know, dead-end jobs, dead-end relationships, dead-end boyfriends or girlfriends, Pluto keeps throwing that stuff in your face, depending on where he's transiting through your life areas in your chart, until hopefully you open your eyes and you figure out what you're doing to attract that. What do you think, Bridge?
Oh, honey, I think you said it very well. Very, very well. And the other thing is, Pluto stays in a sign longer than any other planet. So you better make friends with Pluto. You better learn to live with Pluto and learn to grow up with Pluto. That's the thing. I think it's instant grow up, because you can fight it and wear yourself out and get nowhere. Or you can say, wait a minute, maybe I do need to change. Maybe I need to take more responsibility. How come I blame and shame that person when I'm the one that did it to myself?
That's always hard to see for a person. So, and the question too for me is that your book specifically focuses on Pluto's transit through Capricorn. And I'm not even an astrology novice. I'm like an astrology, I don't know anything. I only know that my sign is Scorpio. Like, that's about it. So when I first read this, I'm like, okay, well, if Pluto's transiting through Capricorn, what does that have to do with me, who's a Scorpio?
A lot.
Okay.
Because remembering that in your solar third house, now I'd have to set up your whole chart to know exactly what house Pluto is in. But based on your solar third house, it has everything to do with the way you think, organize your day, decide who is friend-worthy and trustworthy, and decide what priority comes first, second, and third. Always have those priorities first, second, third. Don't go far beyond that, because then you're overpacking yourself like a pack mule.
Okay. And Hazel, what is your perspective on that? Why Capricorn?
Pluto, it affects us in many ways. It affects through the generation you were born. It affects every sun sign. For all Scorpios, Pluto would be affecting the things in your third house, which is also communication issues. And then for your chart personally, Pluto would affect in your natal chart where it was transiting when you were born. And also where you have Capricorn in your natal chart would be probably where it's transiting now, and it kind of overlaps. It could be in one house, which is a life area, or another one, and it would affect the issues in those houses. You know, if it's in your third house, then it's communication, and it's you know, are you someone who's always outspoken? Are you too outspoken, or have you had somebody, you know, say you can't talk? We don't want to hear what you have to say. So Pluto affects us in many ways. And our book is about it will show all of that. It talks about the generations, talks about the sun signs, and most of all, personally to readers, it will show where it is in your house, what life year it was when you were born, and where it's transiting right now through the transit of Capricorn. And as Bridgett said, that's a long transit. It's going to be in Capricorn until about 2024, and you have a long time to make a permanent transformation, or not. You still have free choice, free will in your life.
So how do I know specifically, like, if Pluto is messing with me? Like, what would I see?
Oh, what's going on right now? What's your challenge?
I mean, really and truly, I mean, communication to some extent really is a big challenge for me. Staying healthy, like eating healthy, weight loss, being physically fit. What else? What is my challenge right now? That's such a good question. Learning how to be a good wife.
Well, that's a big challenge.
Yeah.
Especially if you're working 3 jobs. That is a big challenge. Hazel, what do you say about this?
I'm sorry, Whitney, I did not hear your question.
Sure. My question really just is, like, how do I tell when Pluto is messing with me? Like, how can I be sure to be aware of when it's doing its thing?
Pluto usually messes with us in the way that if we have these repetitive issues that keep coming up, you've got let's say that you are a champion procrastinator and you always do your work at the very last minute. When Pluto is transiting with, he could be he could have you meet somebody who's a worse procrastinator than you, or you're always connecting with people that who are trying to kick you along to make you work, and you're getting frustrated and upset because you are getting behind on things because you do procrastinate and leave them till you get a lot of last minute issues that you have to deal with. Mm-hmm. In communications with Pluto, it depends on where it is, but it gets your attention through the things that are repetitive issues that you've kind of struggled with all your life. If you never stand up to your family, if you're always getting in fights with people because you're too forward about things, you don't listen to other people, right. Or if you have weight issues, or if you have, like I said before, relationship issues that are constantly dead-end jobs, you stop things, you never finish anything. These kind of things, they can be other signs too, but a lot of it, when it's lifelong, and when it's a long-term things that keep coming back, usually it's Pluto.
It's so it's a life-changing adventure. It is. And if I may, can I be personal for a moment?
Please.
When Pluto went over my midheaven, which is top start, okay? And when I was born, Mars and Saturn were conjunct. They were together. Mars is, I'm going to you if you don't shut up, and Saturn, hold your temper, be reasonable, let's discuss right over that conjunction, okay? When that happened, and this is how I got involved in astrology, an astrologer looked at my chart. She said, what happened to you on May 11th at o'clock? I said, I was in a fatal car accident on a bridge.
Oh, wow.
And the car, my grandfather was driving, and he was very ill. I could tell something was terribly wrong. He wouldn't not drive, though. He was an immigrant. He must be the driver, the man. Even though we all offered to drive, trust, he went into an oil truck head on. So he died. My grandfather died. They didn't tell me until I'd been in the hospital for 3 months. They thought that would kill me, and it would have. Nobody else died, but I died 5 times in the emergency room, running out of blood. Not enough blood to pump my heart.
Wow.
And I have to tell you, I love the other side. I loved it. I loved it. It's nothing like people, I mean, everybody has a different experience. I didn't see holy figures. I didn't see Byzantine, you know, like drawings of God or images of Christ or images of Buddha. I didn't see anything like that. What I felt was, for the first time in my life, absolutely no pain, no worry, nothing to be upset about. Everything was love. It was all is love. It was the most peaceful, loving thing that ever happened to me.
Mm.
And then they would resuscitate me. This happened 5 times. And I didn't want to come back, but I thought about my parents. And I thought, oh my God, if I die now, what's it going to do to them? I was 18 or 19, you know, what's it going to do to them? And bam, I was back in my body, oh, full of pain, couldn't move my legs. I still thought they left my legs in the car because I didn't know I didn't know where my legs were. I couldn't feel anything from the waist down. And I was paralyzed. And after 3 months of lots of care and lots of surgeries, I'm not only able to move around, I'm able to race walk 7 miles a day. I fixed them, you know. I was doing splits when the doctor said I shouldn't. I mean, you know, I had been a gymnast, track and field, all that stuff, and I was not going to give in to it.
Yeah.
So that was my dance with Pluto, my first dance with Pluto. The second dance was when Pluto went over my ascendant sun sign. And that gave me the guts and the balls to divorce my first husband. I didn't have it until then. Until then, I was just a geisha. What more can I do for you, sir? Do you want this? Do you need your coffee and that? I was that kind of person. Once I had Pluto on my ascendant and sun, I just thought, what in the world am I doing with this pig? And that was it. Done.
Wow.
That's what it gave me strength. It gave me a lot of strength. It'll take away, you know, it'll take away like it did in the car accident, but which also made me a lot stronger, by the way. I mean, when you're lying flat on your back and you can't feel your legs and they have to do all your bodily functions from your waist down for you, it's humbling. Pluto will humble you to your knees if you don't want to change, you know. So I got enough whops across the face from Pluto to say, hey, okay, buddy, I love you. I'll do it your way.
You guys wrote a book about him.
That's right.
Hazel, what has been your experience with Pluto?
My Pluto experiences, I was born with Pluto in the 3rd house, and so my experiences have always been communication issues and of speaking my truth the way I saw it and asking questions, very pointed questions, because Pluto is a very straightforward, in-your-face planet, and he wants the truth, and he wants the buried stuff that's inside of us that we have hidden or that we've oppressed or we've suppressed and that we don't want to face. And I've had communications issues most of my life until midlife when I started writing my astrology books and also speaking up for what I wanted. I always thought if I told the truth to somebody or said what I wanted, nobody'd like me. And so that's a communication thing. And then recently with Pluto transiting Capricorn with me, it's been learning how to deal with people or not deal with people who Pluto can show you people or bring people to you that have some of your own bad habits. So if and they kind of throws that in your face, he can kind of say, you know, look, you're attracting somebody who's just, you know, we see it's like we don't like what we don't like in other people is usually one of our bad habits. And I've had that to deal with, which I've learned to say no because of it and not let someone or a variety of people put their issues make me think that it's okay to go along with things that I normally wouldn't have gone along with. And learning how to say no is one of the greatest things that I've learned how to do with Pluto. And it doesn't have to be confrontation. You don't have to have conflict. Doesn't mean that you have to beat somebody up or have a fight. You just stand up for yourself and what you want. And when you do that, when you stand up for yourself, Pluto stands right beside you. He can either be the strong arm guy who knocks you in the gutter, or he can be your bodyguard. We say that in the book. He turns from the mob enforcer to your bodyguard, and will give you, the more you work with him, the stronger you are.
I love Pluto. I love Pluto. I do. And he is hard. He is a hard, can I say this? He's a hard ass. Can I say that? I just did.
You did.
Yeah, I just did. He will not back off. And he has so many years to slam it to you. Just wham it, slam it. The people that end up in prison and they actually did commit the crime, they're not innocent, that are real prisoners, and never get out when they go in front of the group of people that decide whether or not he should, he's recovered, he's okay. The Charles Manson types, okay, who's going to turn into a cockroach in prison, and that will be the end of him. Somebody will step on him. That'll be the end of him. Anything like that. Pluto will not get off your case until you grow up, change up, wake up, or learn. I mean, seriously, I would have stayed with that dumb first husband if I hadn't have. I would have stayed with him. I was very, very depressed, very unhappy. He was depressed. He didn't want to be with me either. We were both depressed. It was a good thing. It was like a cleansing. Like, oh, I just took the shower of my life. Woo, clean.
So it's almost like what I'm hearing you guys say is that it's like Pluto puts like a magnifying glass on whatever it is in your life that's really, really, really not working, and in such a way that it puts it straight in your face until you actually deal with that particular thing. So it's not like there's one thing that Pluto brings to every single person's life. It's different for everybody.
That's exactly right. And each life area or house in your astrology chart has several different areas. It isn't just one area, and Pluto can work through one or more of these areas depending on where you need to do some soul work so you can evolve. And that's why in our book we show you how to do this, because most people don't know that. They don't know why these things keep coming around and keep throwing in your face, or why you can't make a decision, or why you can't stand up for yourself. And through astrology, Pluto's the planet that shows you this, because he deals, as I said before, with all the buried issues or things that we've suppressed or things that we're afraid to express. And in the book, we show you how to do that. All you need is your birth chart to show you where Pluto was when you were born, and also what houses it's transiting now during this long transit. And some of the areas in that could pertain to you personally, and by you I mean our readers and our fans, that you can ask. There are questions in there to ask yourself. Who is it? Usually these things start in childhood with everybody, with everything. And astrology, we say in the book, is kind of the first primitive, very primitive psychology. It's a self-help tool and a self-knowledge tool. And once you study it, you find that there's many, many, many layers to your astrology chart and to your personality. But with Pluto, in these long-term issues, we kind of coach you along in the book to ask yourselves questions. Who do you think put the voice in your head that you can't speak up for yourself when you were a kid? Who do you think encouraged you to just slam your face right into everybody, to confront them before they confront you? Well, neither one of these things are good. Everything's an extreme. So everything, neither extreme is good. You try to strive for balance, and then you try to make these steps, and we show you how to do that to change what you don't, what these things, these issues that are still bothering you or that you're still struggling with.
That's awesome. I'm looking at your, so everybody knows, I just want to tell everybody about your book. I love this. I just think it's like the most fantastic cover, and it just looks so, I love it.
I love
You can get this today. It's $16, and you can go to beyondword.com/Pluto to grab it. And Bridgett and Hazel don't know this yet, but whoever buys today, we are going to send the books to both of them and have them sign it. So you guys will have some of the only books that are signed by both of them, because they're not in the same place. They're nowhere near each other. So that is the deal that you get today. So for the same price as the book as you would normally pay, you will get a signed copy by both Bridgett and Hazel. So be sure to go to beyondword.com/Pluto to get that. And so I'm just looking at the chart. You guys are just making me so curious. I can't leave the book alone. But so there's this chart in here that is, and I went through and I looked, and for me, so my birthday actually falls in the Scorpio Pluto generation. I don't know what that means. So I'm curious if like my birthday is also in Scorpio. Does that, because I am a Scorpio, does that like really make Pluto come at me like all over the place, or is that something totally different?
Depends. It depends. I'm going to set up your chart. We'll find out.
Okay.
I'm not going to guess.
Okay, that's probably good.
Yeah.
So, and then just in all of this, I know that there really is a particular reason that you guys decided, okay, so Pluto's transiting through Capricorn. This is a really important time. When I first heard about the book, we were told like the last time Pluto was transiting through Capricorn, it's when the American Revolution happened. And so what is the impetus for you guys behind writing this book? Like, are you guys expecting another revolution?
Well, there's a revolution. There can be a revolution. We've seen many uprisings for freedom all over the world. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of control struggles going on. Capricorn's the power structure and the status quo, and Capricorn's the mountain goat. And when Pluto's in Capricorn, Pluto's kind of the disrupting, force of the status quo is not working anymore, and we're just going to blow everything up until, we get it straightened out where we have people who want freedom get their freedom. And the Pluto and Scorpio generation you were talking about before, Whitney, mm-hmm. It's also Pluto and Capricorn is for the whole generation of your birth generation. This communication issue is because it's in the third, in the area of communication, and like it is for you as a Scorpio. Now, this may not be your personal birth chart, but as a Scorpio and all the Scorpio generation, which are their Leos or Pisces or whoever were born in those years, communication, it's Pluto's kind of challenging this generation to be the generation that stands up and speaks out against any kind of tradition or power that inhibits their freedom or harms the planet or the individual.
We need you, Whitney.
That's awesome. Well, and I guess I'm confronted by recently, like, I do see that in myself, and so for me and for everyone else, so Pluto points out all of these things that we either need to change or we need to confront. And how do we go about doing that in a way that's not continuing to be destructive to ourselves? Like, what are some, steps that we could take to really have it be a transformation in the way that Pluto is hoping that it will be a transformation?
We say in the book, at the end of the book, we have a little conquering the world with Pluto in our conclusion. And one of the things that we say here is that be mindful. Okay, mindfulness is a really good word that you hear all the time. You hear it with everything, be aware of what you're doing, be mindful of what you're doing. But in your communications, be mindful of how you speak. Most of us speak in what a good friend of mine calls word packages. How are you today, Whitney? Fine. How are you, Bridgett? Okay, I'm fine. What's going on? Nothing much. So be mindful. Think for like 2 seconds before you answer that automatic fine. How are you today? I'm frustrated today because my video didn't work on and I can't get my face on TV. I mean on the webinar today so you can see me. I'm okay because I'm still here. But how are you, how do you really feel? Is this a hectic day? You don't have to download, 25 minutes of everything that's gone on since you woke up and brushed your teeth in the morning. But when you start being mindful about how you answer these simple everyday questions, that's a step. That's a step to it. And then another thing that we also say in the book is no is a powerful word. Yeah. And it's not a word to be afraid of. It's not a word to use lightly. But it's okay to say no when you don't feel like going along with the crowd. If you don't want to go out to lunch, if you don't want to do something, just say no. I don't feel like that today, or no, I don't think that's right. Maybe we should do something else, because like I said before, conflict does not mean confrontation. And if you take these little steps, because this is a communication area for you and for all your generation, that can lead you to making changes in a way where you're getting heard. But you have to be able to speak something that people want to hear. And if you just do fine, nobody pays attention to that because nobody cares.
That's right.
You're not giving them anything to care about. It's not that they don't care, but you're not giving them anything to care about.
And I have a real issue with that, because I see people when I'm running past them or race walking past them, and they're race walking past me or running past me. They say, "How are you doing today?" "Fine, fine." "Good, we're gone." It's a habit. It's a bad habit. But neither one of us want to stop our workout and explain, well, here's how actually it is. That's the thing. And that is a definite Pluto conundrum. Because you don't know what to do. You want to finish what you're up to doing is finish that race, and this person doesn't really want to make small talk, but doesn't want to seem like a snob either. So that puts you in a difficult position. Pluto
Pluto does love to do that, but I think how we overcome it isn't, having a side conversation. Just instead of saying fine, saying I'm great, today's a wonderful day, or I'm tired but I'm here. That's 2 seconds. You're telling the truth, which is Pluto's focus, is to tell the truth, and you're not taking up other people's time, or you're trying to interrupt them at whatever they're doing.
Exactly. You're right. Hazel, as always, you are exactly right. That's a good idea. I'm going to use it.
Well, and the other thing that got me really excited, Hazel, is like when you were talking about, just taking a couple of seconds before you give that automatic fine or that automatic okay or whatever, taking a couple of seconds and thinking about it. And it's also, I was thinking in the area of saying no as well, because as you say, and I'm glad to hear that my whole generation has a challenge with this, because I know I am extremely challenged with saying no. Like taking a couple seconds to actually consider it, and think about it, and then be kind of like, no, that's not going to work for me, or no, I don't really want to do that right now. So it's not just the knee-jerk no either. It's the I have considered it, and my answer is no.
Yeah, good for you. You're strong.
Sometimes.
And that's what you should do, and that's what most people. A lot of the things that Pluto brings up are fear-based.
Yes.
Fear of, if I speak my mind to you, my friend, my family, you're not going to like me anymore. So I have to go along with this. Pluto's issues are the issues that are usually a deep-seated fear with us, or something that we have been has been buried in us, that other people have told us, you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or you're not strong enough. Please let me help. And it doesn't mean that you've been, beaten up in a mean way. A lot of the things that have damaged us were kindly meant, okay, when we were growing up. But it still has given us this reluctance in whatever area. And we're talking about communication, but there's all kinds of different things. There's career, there's work, there's philosophy, there's your day job, your health. The astrology covers everything, and Pluto travels, wherever he is in your chart. It doesn't have to be necessarily communication, but we're talking about that because of Whitney and where you are with it. But those kind of things are usually fear-based.
Yeah.
And it's fearing. Okay, I'm always in a rotten relationship with some jerk, but I don't think I can attract anybody that's better, or I don't want to. It's like the evil I know is better than one I don't, or something like that. And Pluto brings these things up to you to help you know that you have a well of strength inside you to conquer anything. The highest order of Pluto and Scorpio, the sun sign, is the phoenix.
Yes.
And the phoenix is the mythical bird that always rose from its ashes. It could never be conquered. It could never be destroyed. And neither can you. And you have that inner phoenix within you. And this is Pluto awakens that in you if you know how to work with it when it comes. And that's what we show you in our book.
Mm-hmm. How to stand up to Pluto and to stand shoulder to shoulder with Pluto and let Pluto help you.
Yeah, what you guys are saying, it's like on one side I'm kind of like, oh my goodness, that sounds really, really intimidating. And then on the other hand, I'm like, and it sounds really amazing as well. It sounds like a real opportunity for anyone who's going through this.
It's a second awakening or a third awakening. It snaps you out of the haze you put yourself in. And Hazel, I got to say this. I think a lot of the stuff that goes on with Pluto has to do with anger, repressed anger, too. Repressed jealousy and anger. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that with clients that have pushed it down to the point that they hate somebody in their family. They can't stand that person. And so they try to create scenarios, make that person the evil being in the family. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I agree, and I agree with that. I think the anger comes from frustration, from not being able to confront what the problem really is with them. They can't break away. Family ties are the strongest ties, and if you have something which most people. We all have people that irk us, and we all have relatives that we'd rather not see come for, the holidays. Yeah. But when you really have to break away from that kind of a thing, Pluto will give you the strength to do that, or help you open up your own strength. The planets don't do anything to us, but when we see through these astrological trends, areas that are brought up that we need to focus on, we have the strength to change them ourselves. And yes, Bridgett, that anger and that frustration is because people are probably afraid to speak up or afraid to say, I don't want you in my life anymore, whatever it is.
Yeah, I agree so much.
So I'm curious, when did Pluto transit, or Pluto, I don't know what the proper language is, but start its transit in Capricorn?
It was 6 to 8 years ago, I believe, Hazel.
Yeah, I think it was in 2008, maybe 2009, 2008. So, it will be there until 2024.
Right.
And it usually will transit through one or two of everyone's house or life areas. It doesn't just stay in one, because the pie chart of astrology is not exact, wherever the planets land. So it could affect several issues in your life. It may affect one or two issues, and not everyone is going to have some gigantic, horrible thing happen to them. Bridgett told us before that she had, this horrific car accident. You're not going to get that. You can get a jolt of some sort in your life. An old flame reappears, or you get a jolt at work, or you get some sort of life bump when Pluto moves in, and then this will, this particular issue will come up again and again and again and again, hoping that you will face it. But not everybody has these horrific things happen to them. Most of us, it's just that nagging, I've got to change something. I can't do this anymore, I can't sit here and and beat my head against the wall in this mundane job. I can't stay in this ugly relationship. I can't, keep dating losers. I can't keep yo-yoing in my weight. Whatever it is.
Yes.
It's the nag in your head, as I said in the beginning of the program. What goes around comes around, and Pluto is the champion of that. He just keeps nagging this stuff up, and and you can't get rid of it until you make a change and work at it. And then you can get rid of it, and you can get rid of it permanently. You can make a transformation that is a permanent transformation.
It just reminds me of something that my dad always told me, and he always said that if you don't actually deal with something, it'll come up again. It'll look slightly different, but it'll just come up again.
Exactly.
He's right.
I have a very wise father. He loves cliches. And I was thinking in my life, it's like right now, one of the things that Bridgett, when you asked me, what are my challenges? One of my challenges is jealousy. Like specifically right now in my life, it's really jealousy, and particularly like with the people who are closest to me, and that has definitely not always been the case. But it does. I'm thinking back, and it's like there's another chunk in my life when that was there as well. I don't know if it lines up with a particular timeline or anything, but it's really interesting.
It'll be very interesting looking at your chart. I can tell you that. It'll be very interesting looking, because where that jealousy is coming from, we'll uncover that. We'll uncover that. And that's how people do it. I mean, they go to Astrodienst online, and they get their chart printed out for free. Boom, So then you've got the chart, you can look at it, you can read the book, and say, oh my God, Pluto was there, and now Pluto is here. So that's why I'm feeling this, and that's why that happened. And it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, and one thing that you guys, and you've even mentioned it as we've been talking, is that it's not the planets are controlling your life, and this is exactly why it happens, and you're fated to go through this and all that stuff. It's just a suggestion?
No, planets, like we say, it's a very primitive type of astrology. It's a self-knowledge tool. And the planets, astrology and astrology's been around for, 5,000-6,000 years, since people, I don't know how it started, and I don't really know how it works. I know that it does work. The Babylonians, the Egyptians, every civilization, every culture has some form of astrology, moon-based, sun-based, like ours is. They looked up in the sky, they saw the planets move, and after thousands of years, somebody put it together that when the planets moved here, people that were born under that sign or that constellation acted in a certain way. When the planets transited through the signs, these trends could happen in your life, and it works. It's an amazing way to know yourself and to help yourself, but it is not fortune telling.
No.
It's not witchery. It's not woo woo. Don't get out of bed today because you're going to get hit by a bus. It's not anything like that. It is there are trends, and you always have free will. And we say this in the book. You can change your life, or you cannot change your life. It's up to you. Because you always have free will to do something or to do nothing. And when the Pluto trend, when the transit comes, wherever it is in your particular life, when you know these issues, when you read about these issues and you know them, then you can say, oh, yeah, this is happening to me. This, I've been confronted with that, or this has come up, like you said your dad told you, Whitney, this, if you don't deal with it, it comes around. That is totally Pluto. And when you see it and you ask yourself some questions, because you have prompts in the book to ask yourself questions, where did I first learn this message? How did I, come to think about that? And it makes you get in touch with yourself a little bit. Then you can see how it's working, and then you can make the change. But you have to recognize it first.
Yeah. Yeah. Acknowledge the truth.
Hmm.
Acknowledge the truth instead of deny the truth. And that's another thing that I see with Pluto planets and with Pluto clients, not wanting to deal with the reality. It's too embarrassing. It'll ruin my career if I admit this. I can't stand not doing this. I need this. Hazel already knows I'm talking about a lot of people that do drug and alcohol.
Yeah, we have a lot of good juicy stories in the book, but the names have already changed to protect the guilty.
As always, you know. But instead of taking responsibility, and this is so Pluto, instead of the person who is the addict and the repeat offender, instead of saying, okay, I need to do something about this, and it has to last, and I have to make a commitment, they blame other people, their parents, their boss, not getting that gig, getting kicked off the show, whatever. They blame everybody else. It's up to them. People who they're blaming aren't feeling a thing, aren't worried, aren't troubled by it, they've gone way past that person who turned out to be a flop, okay? The person who turned out to be a flop needs to grow up and say, I can make myself better again. I can be better off again. They can come back. When people say people don't change, I wonder, what planet are you from? You know, seriously, because yes, people can change. And Pluto is the biggest personality, lifestyle, thought changer in the zodiac.
That's true. And people, when, you know, one thing I feel about when you say that people don't care about, you know, they're so, I think it isn't they don't necessarily not care about you, and when I say you, I mean you collectively, all of us, deliberately. It's that they're so caught up in their own fears and frustrations and that they can't. They go along in their routines just like we go along in ours. And the one who changes is the one that wakes up to the fact that I can make a change and I need to work towards this change. And whether we can resolve an issue or we can't, you know, it's tough to resolve issues. It's tough to walk away. But when you have to walk away, if there's no other out or there's no other resolution to an issue, whether it's with a friend or a relationship or a family member, then that's when you see Pluto working in your life that can help you with that inner strength to make the tough decisions that you need to do that are for your betterment. Astrology works on a kind of a soul level of you need to evolve. You need to evolve in your soul and grow, not just in as a human in this life. Of course, you need to do, but as you know, to go on into into your soul evolution, and the houses of your astrology chart roughly coincide with that.
Definitely.
I'm thinking about, and I read my horoscope and things like that, usually just kind of as a, oh hey, it's right there. But what I'm really hearing is that the astrology can kind of help you. It can help kind of tease out the things that maybe are challenging you, because some people, they just feel challenged in life. Like life is just hard. And so potentially looking at your chart or really digging into that, you can see, oh, here's a particular area of life that is a challenge for you, and here's a particular area of life that challenges you, and having that reality jump forward so that you can actually deal with it.
Absolutely. Astrology will show you, your strength, your challenges. It will give you some things to think about. It will kind of answer some questions on, oh, so that's why I act this way, or that's why my boyfriend acts this way, or my father, or my boss, or my girlfriend. It's just your sun sign is just the tip of the astrology iceberg.
Yeah.
You know, most of what makes you you is hidden beneath that sun sign surface, and that's why you know, some people will say, well, I'm a Scorpio, but I'm really outgoing and fun-loving, and I'm a lot of fun, and I never have a gloomy moment, and I never get angry or jealous or anything, you know. And somebody else may say, well, I'm a Scorpio, and I just want to stay home with the doors locked and the window shades pulled down because I'm really reclusive, and I don't trust anybody, and I don't want anybody around me. Well, both of those can be Scorpios, but they have a lot of other things that are going on in their charts that influence their behavior, plus your culture, plus the way you were raised, plus your environment. All of that affects you. Astrology is one piece of that, and it's a big piece of who your basic personality is, but all of that is shaped by everything else in your life. You know, who raised you, you know, where you live, your environment. And Pluto brings up kind of the environment and childhood issues of who your caregivers were and what you learned consciously or subconsciously that may need to be changed in, you know, some way or another way. And there's always extremes on both ends of those things.
Oh, yes. Yes. And you know, when you're able to, what I call beat the devil, overcome that problem that you're having, that you're going along with, that Pluto problem, when you're able to do that, you feel so strong. You feel so good about yourself. I can give you another personal example. I was a very skinny little girl, made fun of all the time. Boys would drop their books on my head and knock me out. I mean, I was just a very tiny, skinny, scrawny, zero kid. Well, one day, I just had enough. And along comes this bully, chubby bully, toward me. And he's on his bicycle. I'm walking along, sort of like Moby Gone. And he stops and he smacks me, and I punched him right in the nose and made his nose bleed. You know, I was so proud of myself. I felt so good. I thought, you know what? Next guy that comes by me that tries anything like that, pow, ba-bam. That made me feel good. Okay? Now, yeah, okay, revenge. Whatever. I call it yin-yang. Okay? It's balance. Perfect balance.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, balance.
Yeah.
It helps us with that eventually if we listen.
Okay. Well, I'm sure listening, and I want to say one more time that we do have a deal going for today for Harness Astrology's Bad Boy, $16 at beyondword.com/Pluto. And if you purchase it through that URL, you can get it signed by both Bridgett and Hazel. So be sure to go on there and grab it. And it sounds so intriguing. And one of the things that I know that many people do whenever they look at an astrology book or go to just go to the store and they see something laying out on the pretty little table of all the gifty books, is that they just go and they look at their own. And what I'm hearing you guys say in all of this is that really, while you do break it down into different sun signs, it's really great to know about all of them, because then, like, for me, my husband, I don't even know what he is. He was born September 25th. Libra, okay, so it would be very helpful for me to understand what Pluto is doing to Libras, because then I can know what challenges he's dealing with, as well as, like, my friend, who I believe she's a Sagittarius. She's December 17th.
Yes.
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 And just being able to understand that world of what the other people are dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct, Whitney. And you can get your horoscope. All you need to get your free horoscope online is you need your birth date, you need the place you were born, and the time you were born. With your birth date, you can tell where where the planets are, like where your Venus, is, and what sun sign you are, and where Mars is, and where Pluto is. But you cannot, when you have your birth time, that kind of drops everything into the pieces of the pie chart, like clicking a combination lock into place. So that time is very important. And most people know the time of their birth. It's fairly easy to get if you don't know it. You know, if you have this state and the county that you were born in, you can get a copy of your birth certificate, or maybe your mom has it somewhere, or a relative. But and it's wonderful. Yes, you can. You can look up and see what's going on with your husband or your friends, and it's helpful for them. You know, it will be just as helpful for them to understand what's going on as it is for you to understand what's going on with them, and then you know, through finding that information and reading that section in the book.
That sounds fantastic. Well, we're coming close to the end of our hour, and one of the questions that you guys gave me, and I would never dream of asking this if it wasn't one that you guys included, but what can you look forward to or watch out for today? Bridgett, do you want to start?
Today's been a wonderful day. It's been an absolutely wonderful day, and yesterday was too. So I have no problems with today or yesterday.
What about tomorrow?
Oh,
well, I would.
You're going to ask about tomorrow, huh? Okay. All right. Let me take a look here. Tomorrow.
Well, right now we have a lot of we have a Capricorn moon for a few more hours until almost one more day, and Scorpio sun, and they're kind of making a rough connection with a Mars and Uranus opposition in the sky. So I'm going to kind of say it's a great day, and it's a very energetic day, but there are also some minor frustrations going on, and there may be somebody somewhere that wants to push your button. Don't let them. And also don't get, you know, don't push anyone else's buttons. Kind of maintain some moderation we're into Libra Mercury, and Mercury is retrograde, but it's picking up speed very slowly, as you can see by my video wipeout today, that he's still tweaking us a little bit. But Mercury's in Libra, and Libra's the peacekeeping and harmonious sign, balance keeper, so try to keep balance in your life today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can do anything. You can do anything you want, and any day you can change any day into something beautiful. Minute by minute, miracle by miracle. Really.
I love that. Well, is there anything that you want to make sure completely that people understand about your brand new, well, not even brand new. It's so funny because this book is not actually coming out until next Tuesday, November 4th. So this is like, it's so completely brand new. I'm so excited just to even have a copy of it in my hands. So is there anything that you just want to make sure that everybody watching understands about your book before we go? Bridgett, do you want to start?
I would like to say that our book is written for the lay reader who's astrology students would love it too, anybody, but it's actually written for the lay reader, people who read their horoscope on the newspaper or online or in a magazine, and it's in plain talk, plain language. There's no woo-woo. There's no what I call astro speak, where, you know, this angle and that angle and things that people don't understand, that I barely understand sometimes. You know, it's like doctor speak. But it's loaded with we have a lot of examples from our client files. Bridgett has a lot of celebrity examples that like I said earlier, we changed the names to protect the guilty. But it shows real life examples of people who have gone through what you as the reader may be going through. So it's very easy to read and understand. And if you have a question, you can email us, either one of us, through our websites, and we'll be happy to answer. So get us on Facebook. We'll be happy to answer that for you, because we believe in this. Pluto is my passion. It's the planet that I really have seen work in my life and in other people's lives, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and I know Bridgett would be too. So don't hesitate to get in touch with us.
Great.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Bridget, is there anything else that you want to add to what Hazel said?
Hazel and I are like psychic twins.
That's awesome.
Same thing. We're sharing the same brain.
That's so fantastic. So the last question I have, and it's kind of a very simplistic one, but as we all know, Pluto was downgraded as a planet. Does that have any effect whatsoever on the astrological world, or
Not really.
none?
That's
No.
an astronomical thing, not an astrological thing.
Right, astronomy. That's right.
Astrology is like psychology. Astronomy is not. It's a whole different field. It's not has nothing to do with psychology.
Well,
Astrology.
we addressed that in the book too. That the astronomy, is the study of the stars and the planets, and astrology is the study of the cycles of the planets in our solar system, as how they pertain and affect human behavior. But no, downgrading to Pluto, what humans call Pluto, whether they call it a rock or a speck of dust or a planet or the supreme being of the world, it doesn't make any difference. Pluto's who he is and always will be in astrology. And by the way, I just read an article a couple of weeks ago that now the astronomers union, or astronomers, whatever they call themselves, the group that downgraded him, are now thinking about putting Pluto back into planet status.
That's right.
So go figure.
I heard that. I think it's because there's all those sorts of elementary school teachers out there who are trying to come up with a new saying that doesn't involve a P at the end. It's my theory. Bridget and Hazel, thank you so much for being on the show with us. It's just wonderful, and I feel so excited. I mean, I'm going to go read your book right now, and I just feel like, I don't know, there's a sense of lightness with just being able to be aware of those little things and not just think, oh my goodness, there is something inherently wrong with me.
No, there's nothing wrong with us that we can't change.
Yeah.
For anything, and there's nothing wrong with anyone else that can't be changed.
Yeah.
But they have to make their choice, and we have to make ours. And thank you so much, Whitney. It was wonderful being here today.
Thank you.
Love you, Hazel.
Bye-bye, Bridget. Take care.
Well, and so everybody watching knows next week we will have Lonnie Leary, Dr. Lonnie Leary. She is the author of No One Has to Die Alone, and she is actually going to be sharing with us how to help children deal with grief, giving us steps and things that we can use to help them through the process. And given a lot of the things that have been happening around the world today, it's going to be a very, very interesting show. So we look forward to seeing you all there, same time, same place. Thank you for joining us this week.